Well, hello again. We are at our Component 6, Part 4. Glad you had the opportunity to join me again. And guess what? After this one, we only have one more. I know you are going to be glad, but I don't think not glad as I am going to be, that it is done. Remember, if you're going to be getting a certificate, I emailed out, and if you have not received the email with the form that you'll need to fill out for your CEU certificate and tracking of all the classes that you have taken, I will need to have those listed on that report form, and then I will need you to complete also a quality assurance evaluation of the study. Appreciate that so I can know how I'm doing and know what you're more interested in the future. Really would appreciate that. We are at Component 6 again, but we're at Part 4. And as I said earlier on, many of you who may want to get this certification, if you're having your own ministry to be developed and or if you have children's church or dealing with senior populations, I think it's important that you begin now to develop your safety policies and procedures. As you can see with the bloodshed that we got going on now in our society, there is a lot of things that many of us are not aware of that I'm already sure that the enemy is using lawyers to sue the church because we refuse to develop these policies. But anyway, let me set my timer. We're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully I'll be off here within the time span that's required for you to get this credit, and pray that you will shoot this information out elsewhere for those that was in your church or your ministry that will be able to receive the credit as well if they go back and listen to all the tapes and be truthful when they listen to be able to get the credit. So we're talking about training caregivers. Now, I'm not going to stay on this because a lot of this information I have went over already, but I wanted to close out with Component 6, Part 4, and kind of giving you some heads up on overcoming some challenges as it relates to child sexual abuse or those that are within or those that are hosting youth organizations or youth daycares or youth children's church and so on. If you have that type of ministry or church where you're actually hosting events or doing any type of activities that is youth serving organization or ministry. And so training the caregiver, too, I think I talked about this the last time we talked, and if there's ever a time that we need to make sure we're paying attention to the desperate need to educate the body in regards to caregiving. You know, parents are considered as caregivers just as anybody else. It could be a sibling. It could be someone in an organization. But we are considered caregivers when we're taking care of those who are minors or those who are not able to take care of themselves. And so I want to talk about two main areas of education that should be emphasized to the caregiver as far as taking care of others and working within your organization. And so the first part of it, I think I talked about educating the individual about sexual abuse, about abuse of any facet, because a lot of people just think, oh, it's just that, you know, oh, they got paddles, or, oh, I pinched them on the rear end. You know, they just try to take it as a normal day of making sure they don't do that again. But we're in the time right now that that is not going to be able to be permissible. And so we need to make sure that we have policy and procedures, and the second part of that is to educate them about your organization, about issues of child sexual abuse, about prevention and policy and procedures. This is very, very important. And so that's the first thing I want to bring out about training the caregiver. And then the second part is the critical content for the training of that caregiver, who it is that you're going to be giving this training to. It's important that we also incorporate the information that the caregiver is going to need to understand their role. I talked about this earlier on. What is your role in my ministry, in my organization, to help me prevent this or to help me watch out for this? It's important that you have a crew or a group of people that you prefer to be, you know, the set woman or the set man or the set individual that's going to help, you know, keep things in order. And so you want to educate those caregivers in the areas of the content, which means you want to explain what's healthy, what the healthy development is, as far as, touching or talking or whatever that may be, because abuse can be very widespread in many different ways. And so what you're trying to do is show them what is appropriate and what is inappropriate within your ministry or your organization. Many of the churches, I keep bringing up the church, because the churches, I don't know why they think that the devil don't come to church. The devil lives in the church. He don't even go home like we go home in the physical realm. The devil stays in the church. While we are thinking that we have spiritually cleansed the church, spirits are coming in through those who are supposed to be blood bought, those who say they love God. And so it's important that we look at this caregiver need for more education to understand these principles of this information and the role that they need to play. And so you want to look at some things as you're developing your content, such as define what child abuse is. You want to talk about the type of behavior. So you want to be specific. Get you some YouTube videos. Then you want to challenge them about some myths. You want to talk about these myths or talk about things that people think, oh, that's nothing. You want to talk about these things that are really widespread with offenders. You want to talk about even the strange and dangerous stuff. You want to bring these things up that's easily identifiable so that they can be related when you give them this session or this training to the caregiver. And then you also want to describe the warning signs, okay, for these people who may be offenders or those people who may have been victimized through videos that you want to show. Show them what to watch for through these videos. And then you want to also find a way to discuss how to talk to their own children about sexuality. It's very important because we have a lot of kids who are touching other kids today, and many of them don't believe there's anything wrong with it. But a lot of kids are touching and examining one another's genitals because they're curious, or they're watching stuff that the parent allowed them to watch on television. And so they bring that stuff to your facility or your church or whatever your group is. It's happening all the time, and many times these kids are being bullied that they better not tell nobody. I told you I had a summer youth program one time, and the little boy kept pulling himself out, and I didn't know it. Thank God that the group, the leader that I had over the group, was able to bring that information to me and wasn't afraid to bring it to me. Thank God that I had my pre-orientation. Everybody know me. I believe in orientation to make sure you get an understanding about what your responsibilities are. And when you get to do that 2 times, you out. You messed up the 3rd time. I'm not going to give you an opportunity. I'm going to put you on probation. You got the GO because you are a liability now to me. It's very important that we understand that if we don't train, if we don't get our eyes in tune to know that these things are possible to happen, many times we won't address these things because for 2 reasons. One, we feel like that maybe it'd be too much to talk about within the church body. And then number 2, for fear that people think that you're going too far, and then number 2 is that they're related to you or they're close to you. Maybe you've got the daughter taking care of the children's church that's close to you, the elder in the church's daughter or your sister's daughter or, that kind of thing. And so when you have these, or you're the aunt and all that, you're the pastor, but you're their uncle or whatever that is. But see, what happens is that when we start to have this relationship type of thing, family matter stuff that's in the middle of business and ministry, this is why the enemy is so easily able to slip in. And so we've got to make sure that we watch those fine lines of putting people at risk because you don't want to let nobody go or you don't want nobody to know that this is your relative and you don't want to get them in trouble. But yet what you're doing is you open yourself up to a whole bunch of lawsuits and everybody going to jail and everybody's being subpoenaed and everybody's getting questioned and possibly being put in jail and being accused of stuff that they probably didn't even do because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. We don't want to sit down and write no policy because we don't think that that's necessary. This is the reason why the church is in the shape it's in today. This is the reason why so many things are happening in the body. And we are supposed to build the body up. And so we want to discuss how to talk to their own children about sexuality. We want to make sure that child abuse, as well as all this other talk that other adults may be talking around your children or talking about to, with your children around, either before or after something maybe suspiciously that could have been happening, or an issue that has been raised that maybe a child was talking about something they saw. But you want to also think about using role play, to make the caregiver understand how to make that person who could be dealing with something that they're ashamed to say or share, or by bringing up that topic, show them how to bring up topics to see if they have been warned, or a little child is pointing at something that is happening. They got to know how to handle that thing, to bring it up to see whether or not there's something that the director or the pastor or the leader needs to investigate. And then you want to also make sure that you explain to those caregivers their responsibility to act, because first of all, if they're not sure of their responsibility, then again, they're going to watch out for certain situations that may be happening in their group. But then when it's happening widespread or within a playground or within a sleepover or whatever, and when they hear these inappropriate behaviors, or these things that may be harmful to a child, and they ignore them, it's still going to be on your back and theirs. So it's important that you explain to them their responsibility. And then you want to describe where to go for help within that organization. That needs to be spelled out in your policies as well, such as who is a point person. I talked about that earlier on. And then you want to, we're talking about inside your organization or your church. And then you want to provide resources for the help. What are you going to do? One thing I do not like to do is always talking about a situation, and I'm not solution-driven. It burns me up. I believe that if I'm going to run my mouth, that's why it does us no good to talk about gay people going in the bathroom with the wrong gender, because we didn't go down to the Capitol. We didn't go down and stand on the Capitol steps or go in and try to talk. We just talked on Facebook. We just talked to one another. We just talked and did a sermon about it, but we never made any action about it. We never brought any solutions about it. We may have talked in some groups and got together, but did we go and ride up there or get a flight up there, a whole bunch of us, and go down there and rally? The people in the gay movement did, though. And this is the reason why things are happening now and being permitted. So we can't complain about something that we didn't make no action about. And so it's very important that we stop talking about something and we're not providing resources for that. We need to be resource and solution driven for such times as these, because people are seeking help. People are trying to look for a way out of a situation. And so when we have children that have been abused, when we see abuse all on the in the streets, so much bloodshed today, and so many issues of fear and fear of failure, fear of being tried, fear of doing something about it that you might get hurt. Fear is a big spirit, and what's been released in the earth now as it relates to bloodshed has caused many people to have a spirit of not understanding how to handle the spirit of hopelessness. See, what that fear does, it makes you feel like no matter what you're trying to do, and I know you might have felt this because I've been getting people call me about it, no matter what you try to do, it looks like for some reason you feel like, I better check. Lord, my children, oh God, it's so much happening. Let me see. Oh, I hope he didn't go to the march. I hope she's not in that gay club. Oh God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go any longer to pay this church note. The people are leaving the church. We have all these anxieties because of the bloodshed has caused a spirit of hopelessness to make us feel like we got to figure out what to do next. We got to rush. We got to make sure we got all our barriers covered. We constantly got our guns cocked, but yet we ain't making no move. The devil is crazy. Well, we need to understand that Jesus is Lord. He see all and he know all. But this bloodshed has caused this spirit to move within the earth, and those people who are weak in their faith will either lose their minds. They think that they are in Christ, but they're actually on the edge of insanity. They're doing things that they don't realize they're doing. This is the reason why they come to church and be full of demons. You better hear me out. And this is the reason why many of the people who are allowing these things to go on within the church have lost light of hope. And so they just let things just go because they don't want to lose anybody, because of the few that they did have that was very faithful, they left because maybe they haven't been getting what they need. But one thing you can rest assured of is that those spirits that have been gone unchecked, and they're right there in the church, those are the ones that's coming back shooting the church because they're tired and they're angry about, pastors sleeping with sheep and, being rejected over and over again. They still got childhood wounds that never been healed, and they sitting back watching everybody else get elevated or
talking about them all the time and they family undercover, and everybody being treated right and they not being invited. There's rejection and fear of failure, fear of shame, and, all these spirits are just jumping around everywhere and ain't nobody talking about it, ain't nobody trying to get no help. Lord, don't make me preach on him. But anyway, it's very important that we look at these situations so that we can get the people that help. We are the spiritual doctors and the ministries, the churches, the businesses, those that say that we are faith-based and kingdom builders. We need to be the hospital because they are coming to us. They're looking real good. They're talking a real good thing. And a great example of that, during my fasting time, I went to one of the clinical places that we're doing our CPE in for chaplaincy. I'm going in there to help these people, and the staff running up to me crying out of the blue. Just crying, saying, I'm trying to say, do you want prayer today in your room, the patients? And the clients are coming in and out, the nurses just beat me to get the people's names, saying, please pray for me. Oh, my God, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, every room I was going to, the nurses are coming in, and they were saying, would you pray for me? And just bursting out in tears, and I had to stop. Couldn't even talk to the patient. Talking to them, praying with them, laying hands on them, casting out this fear and, and these things and these demons, these job bullies that they're going through with. I know I'm talking to somebody. But you better hear me. We have to train not only the caregiver, we have to train the leaders on how to deal with these bullies on their jobs and how to deal with this oppression that's going on in the church. We're in a time right now, the devil is dressed up in a suit and he's coming back full loaded with guns and bombs and everything else. We're seeing it happen. And many of it is happening in our own homes where they're killing their mamas, daddies, and the whole house of children. We have to get prepared in getting families ready. And many of these, as the Lord was showing me in the Spirit, many of these families that are killing these wives and these children is because the children probably got tired of being raped by their own daddies or mamas or whatever, and they was trying to threaten to kill, so they just kill the whole house. This is what they want to do. They'd rather do that than anything like that and get out. But back to making sure that we give some resources. We got to provide this. We got to seek other organizations that's going to be advocates to help you develop your policies and procedures based on the laws of the land. You want to have resource lists and sample policies and things like that you all can decide on what you're going to do. Things are going to change. When you first get started, it may appear one way, but as society changes and as more hell develops, we've got to look at new ways to shut the gates of hell and open heaven in these places that people can get some help. And so organizations that have child abuse policies and procedures will always supersede those who don't think that there's a need. They'll always supersede protection from these, I call them gold-digging attorneys who are trying to sue the church because they don't believe in God, they're atheists, so they're just trying to find a way that you got something out of order to sue the church or your faith-based organization. So caregivers that are working with you or leaders that are working within your children's church, you should make sure that they are informed about sexual abuse and violence and bullying and stuff like that. You need to do some classes on those types of things. You need to describe what your organization does, and you need to define what activities are appropriate, first of all, and what's inappropriate in your organization. Because some activities people do that I don't think it should be girl-like or it shouldn't be boy-like. Some activities are too girly for boys and some are too boyish for girls. And for that reason, we need to look at that, such as overnight trips and mentoring and things like that, one-on-one coaching. You got to watch yourself with these things today. I ain't trying to put fear in anybody. You make sure you hear me. What I'm trying to do is use what the Spirit of the Lord has put inside of me, and that is to make sure that I keep it real and make sure people understand that we are accountable to those that put to our hands, that He put to our hands. So you want to make sure that the responsibility that you give that caregiver in your organization or ministry, that you just sign it, be very clear what the expectations are, be very clear who they are responsible for, even if they're transporting the youth from one place to another. You see it all the time when these kids are transported from one place to another and even being left alone. Sometimes they forgot they was on the bus, you know, or they didn't know they was back there asleep. You know, it wears me out to see these kind of things, because I'm like, well, what kind of bus driver are you? You just hop off and don't make sure all these children, now these children are so strange today, they hiding under the seat. You better make sure you check it out all the way, because you will be held accountable if those kids get locked up in that daycare or somewhere left when you know they was in your care. That person who was a caregiver didn't do what you defined in your policies. I'm sorry, we're not trying to be hard. We're just trying to be real and safe. And so you want to encourage the caregivers to attend sessions, like I said, and programs whenever they go to do something outside of your organization, or whether it's indoors, or whether you got another group of kids over, maybe they're doing a joint venture together. You want to be sure that that youth is being protected, you know, by the policies and procedures that you have designed for safety. And so now I want to jump right over to youth training. Now, it's important for us to understand that we got to make sure these teens understand, too. Many of you that may be dealing with youth, teen, church, you got to know that there's different skills and different knowledge that have to be provided to these adolescents and these kids that are teens, you know, even these younger children that are in middle school. But you got to look at the critical content as you're beginning to give that information out. You got to understand how you're going to deliver such a message to those age groups. So your organization needs to provide these youth with some basic stuff, basic practical information, basic, maybe you might have to do some dramatization or role play to make it fun, but make sure that it's very educational. So you want to have some basic sexual abuse information. You want to provide general information about it. And you want to include these things that are inappropriate, like I said before, touching, saying words that are harmful, bullying, you know, and things, behaviors that's going to come from adults and other youth within their groups, you know. And so just think about this. For example, what if you have a youth who need to know that no one has the right to force them to do anything when they've been saying somebody's making them, they keep making me. So when you hear that, you need to look at if there's someone that's within an organization or someone that in passing that you overheard that they've been forced or they've been tricked or coerced into some kind of situation, whether it was sexual or verbal or, you know, the offender that was doing something to them, you know, maybe it may not be that they are a victim, but they may be a bystander or someone that saw it. We are responsible for that behavior, and they need to know how to be responsible to make sure that they report it righteously. And so you want to teach them how to interact appropriately with each other. You want to discuss the importance of reporting sexual abuse and how important it is that they're helping their siblings, not the siblings, but we know who siblings may be in there, but how important they're helping out their peers. And so you want to tell the youth to who they need to report this stuff to, and what they believe is inappropriate or harmful behavior. Make sure they understand that. Let them tell you. It's like a little session class that you're doing. And you want to tell them to seek the assistance from your church right there. Show them who that point person is that they can go to, that they ain't got to worry about getting in no trouble to tell the truth. You don't have that. You need to be implementing that. And then you want to look at the protective factors, though. And those protective factors are that you can help prevent this youth from getting hurt. That's number one. And then you should be able to educate them and help them to be able to educate their peers so everybody can be safe. You want to educate them about the bystander approach. And so with the bystander approach, this means that you're going to empower this youth to intervene or to tell someone when they see something wrong or not right toward a friend or a sibling. And you want to encourage them to tell that trusted individual, like I said, anything that's harmful, anything that's painful. And you want to teach and empower them to have this partner-type, preventive-type process so they can adopt this healthy strategy to protect each other and to check on each other and even to be able to share with a caregiver that they feel good about sharing things that is happening that's good that once they felt was bad. And then it's something that may need to be investigated. If now they say it's not happening anymore, then why was it happening in the beginning? And so when you hear that's not happening anymore, so you want to try to find out what's not happening anymore that they said was such a big secret, or you just don't feel like you want to talk about it anymore. It's not happening anymore. And so these adults need to know ahead of time, before you get into activities, before you start going places with these children, before they start doing activities with their friends or spending the night with their peers or, going places. So going places instead of, looking at the fact that these kids sometimes feel standoffish or alone, we need to look at and identify the people who are trusted adults that we can, see, are these kids with them and are they safe with these trusted adults that we say are trusted adults. And then you want to educate the youth about the healthy sexuality issues that they should be talking about in health education in school anyway. And you want to teach the youth to recognize how this inappropriate versus appropriate behavior begin to happen, and how to avoid this, and how to not get explosive or violent because now someone is about to tell something that they did. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. I don't know how many minutes I got left on here. Let me look at my timer, because I'm going to prepare to stop here and want you to remember to go back and do an assessment on all the other classes that I've had for this particular training in order to get your certification. There will be a quiz at the end. We rely that they must pass with an 80 score or higher for this certification. Also, you also want to make sure that as you go back and do your check with the other CEU YouTube teachings, that's all you need to do is type in CEU or free CEU. You can go back and listen at those at your leisure, and then you'll need to email me with the information here on the description of this YouTube video, a YouTube teaching, so that you can get the information as far as filling out the proper forms to get your certificate. And so I just want to commend you for those that have taken out the time and those who are seeking to get their policies written. I will be hopefully hosting a policies and procedures class soon. I think it's much needed for this last day, because for some reason people want to always do business and call themselves saying they're doing kingdom business, and they got not one lick of policies or procedures. Our Bible is our policy and procedures manual, and I believe that the Lord gave us a roadmap to make sure that we have order. I believe that we should be having that law of the land order in place as well. And so I'll be talking in our closing message about overcoming some challenges. Many of us are going to face a bunch of challenges for refusing to believe that any of this could be happening within our organizations or business, because we are believers. But you got to remember, this is where the enemy is coming in to steal, that is, try to steal, kill, and destroy. And it's our responsibility to make sure that he don't get the upper hand on us. We have to always be having our heads 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of the enemy. And that means plan, study, and train. Because I'm telling you, the enemy is always at church trying to see, what can I do to deceive them? Because they believe that the devil did not come to church. And he's sitting right there watching to see who's got the cracks in their homes, who's got the cracks in their marriages, who's got the cracks in their businesses. And most importantly, they want to make sure that they can see, well, they can't see me, so I guess I'll start right here in the daycare. I guess I'll start right here in the pulpit. Just let the pastor get so full of lust that he'll start sleeping with the sheep. And so let me tell you something. For this last day, we must begin to prepare our own hearts to make sure that we look very closely at the things that we need to say to ourselves. I know I'm being challenged here. I better get some help before the Lord exposes me in public for something he has been trying to warn me about and give me a chance to get clear about in private. God bless you. I pray that you have been blessed by these, and if there's any question, you know you can always hit me on the information that's in the description page, and be sure to make sure you don't miss our last segment, Overcoming the Challenges, that many people have been sued about as far as serving youth, serving organizations or ministries in regards to abuse, whether it's physically or verbally, emotionally. God bless you.